Hi, welcome to Unapologetically Me with Kalila. Today, I really want to go in deep about AI, but I do want to address the fact that there's so much information being thrown at us and from different areas. And so one of the things that we're being bombarded with isn't just about the advancements with AI, but also talking about aliens. And just really quick on my experience with aliens, if you will. I remember when I was a small child seeing things that didn't make sense in the sky. And I always just accepted the fact that there were aliens on other planets. How can you tell me there's, a vast amount of planets, non-ending amount of planets, but only one had life on it? That just didn't make sense. I'd be like, why would the creator, being, God or whatever, as I was a child, so why would God create all of these planets but only put life on one of them? That just didn't make sense to me. So I've always believed in aliens, and I've always looked forward to meeting them. I've always kind of felt like I was one of them. Never really felt like I belonged on this realm, but as I am anyways, because people just don't make sense to me most of the time. Not even my own family. They thought of me as being some kind of weirdo freak person. So yeah, I've never really felt like I belonged somewhere. So I always kind of figured that I must be an alien because this isn't my tribe. And maybe there is my tribe on this planet that are all human-esque beings. Never know, I could find them. But I accept the fact that I am uniquely me, and that's okay. But let's talk about the AI. With the AI, why I think that we are the highest version of AI that could be created is because the more science discovers about our own bodies, the more it makes sense. And so hear me out here. One, I love the brain, and so I've always liked learning about the brain. And in doing that, I've recently come across the fact that only 5% of our choices, of our conscious, we have 5% conscious mind, 95% subconscious or unconscious mind, which makes the majority of our decisions. So our choices aren't, I want to do this. Our choices are pre-programmed, if you will, or programmed or being controlled by our conscious mind. But what's in control of our conscious mind? So in thinking about that one, which I love to overthink, I kind of got to the thought that I had when I was a child, and I held on to it for so long, and I never really let go of it. It was always just kind of like my truth was reality where we live now, where I am sitting right now in this realm is just a dream. And when we die is actually when we wake up. So this is just a very long, drawn-out dream, lasts for however long, but when we die is when we actually wake up where we are currently sleeping, if you will, wherever that is. Perhaps on a different earth or wherever. But I always kind of held on to that because to me, especially as a child, life kind of sucked a bit. And so it's kind of like, okay, this is a weird dream, if you will, but I want to wake up. And I wanted to, at least as a child especially, hold on to the fact that one day I would wake up and realize it was all just a dream. And we forget our dreams most of the time. We forget all the details. They fade pretty quick. So it's kind of like I just need to survive this until I wake up. And I used to have I don't even know how to explain the death wish that I had. I was obsessed. I fantasized about it almost daily. I tried several times in different ways. And I'm still here. So obviously I wasn't successful at that. And I truly believe there's a reason for that. We have our mission that we come here with and got to fulfill that. It's like a promise or something like that. I don't know. There's so many different angles we can look at things. Like, this could be a simulation, but regardless if it's a simulation or not, in my reality, I still have a physical body that is made up of all kinds of components that have little tiny cells that have their own self-awareness. They know their jobs. Each one of the cells that's in our bodies that make us up, they have their own life. They have their own process. They divide, kind of like giving birth. They separate and become two, just as we give birth and have a second part of us. So they have their own reality we'll never understand anything about. We'll never understand if they have an awareness of self like we do. We don't see that we're part of the same whole, even though we are. We know that scientifically, that's proven, that we are all part of, fractals of, all that is and all that ever will be. That's scientifically proven. Yet, we see ourselves as being separate. You see me as being a completely different entity than you, and don't understand that we are as connected as 2 drops of water, one in a lake and one in the ocean. It's still water. Still just one little fractal of the whole. That's what you and I are. We're just drops of water in different locations. What happens to one happens to the other. We have that quantum entanglement. So we affect everything around us. We might not see it. We might not understand it. It doesn't change the fact that it's true. And it changes the reality of. It's fascinating the more you go down the rabbit hole, but it's also a little scary. But it shouldn't change our daily reality. Doesn't matter if this is a dream or not. I still have to pay my bills. I still have this to do and that to do or whatever, right? It doesn't change it. It doesn't change the fact that, you know, your kids are still running around and need to be taken places, or you got to take care of whatever you got to take care of. That's still your reality. Knowing that I can control my reality could be a good bit of information for you if you realize that by our thoughts, we create our reality. So, for example, I was given an assignment for an NLP session that I'm going to be doing, not until March, but she gave me some homework, which the homework was, or is, what would your life look like if you were completely free of all of the negative programs that you're wanting to let go of, or, you know, if you're fixed, so to speak? What would your life look like if you were where you want to be mentally and physically? And so I took it upon myself to answer that question every day as if I was asking it for the first time. And so it's what I'm feeling in that moment that I'm writing about. And I've gotten some pretty interesting insights about myself from doing that simple exercise of, if I were completely healed, what would my life look like? How would my life, my daily, everyday life be? What would I be doing? And it's been quite fun. But that has nothing to do with AI. And I apologize for getting off that little tangenty road, but that's who I am. Unapologetically me. I don't apologize. You're here for this ride. You got to visit my brain for a minute. So I did write down some other things that make me question whether or not we are AI. So we talked about how we're only consciously 5% conscious. It's 95% in control, in the driver's seat, so to speak. I have always thought of our bodies as being like a car. And we get this one vehicle, this one amazing self-healing vehicle to drive. I mean, come on, we take care of it. We get bumped and banged or whatever, our bodies still heal. We break a bone, it heals. I broke my toe last couple weeks ago. It's healing. It's almost all better now. Still a little bit sore, but it's pretty much better. I've broken my arm here. I've broken both my wrists at different times. They're healed. I can use my hands. So we are self-healing machines. It's amazing. We get sick, our bodies get us well again. We have all of these little workers inside of our bodies that take care of these things without us consciously saying, hey guys, go over there and fix that. We don't need to. That's part of our subconscious. Our subconscious is what pretty much drives the body completely. We have very little input. Like I said, 5%. It's kind of crazy. Our bodies are also electromagnetic. That we've always known, or at least in my lifetime, I think we've always known that. We get energy. I know this from a personal experience. If I am going for a hike, if I'm barefoot, I can hike further. I'm feeling more energized when I'm done. I have more energy afterwards, and I feel more alive, and I have little to no back pain or knee pain. And this is from a person who's had injuries since I was a kid. I injured my back at the age of 5. I was in a car accident in which I injured my knee when I was about 13. So my body, on the norm, if I'm hiking with my hiking shoes on or boots or whatever on, can't hike nearly as far. Usually I'm tired afterwards, and I'll take 2 or 3 days after the hike to recover from that exertion. But if I'm hiking barefoot, getting that earthing done, that foot to earth connection, I'm healed. I love being able to hike barefoot. There's an area where I can take my shoes off. My shoes are off. It's amazing. Really suggest you try that out if you haven't already. It's amazing. So our bodies are definitely electromagnetic. We are programmable from the outside influences. We receive programs from TV, from media. You watching this video right now, everything that we hear, sense, smell, touch, taste, whatever, everything that gets filtered through our senses gets processed into the brain, and the brain, without us telling it what to do, will decide, do I want to keep this? Do I reject it? Is it truth? Whatever. How do I want to process this? Is this like nonsense, get stored away? Or, gee, that was really scary when the dog jumped out and barked at me. I'm not going to walk down that street anymore, or walk down a dark street. So whenever I see a dark street and I might have to walk down, I might go around, because a part of me subconsciously says, no, don't do that. And you don't know why. You don't even remember the dog jumping out and scaring you, because that happened years ago. But our brains will still have that memory of, that's not safe. Let's take this route instead. So we've been programmed subconsciously. We didn't make the conscious choice to say, okay, dark street, scary dog, don't go down there. We didn't make that conscious decision, but subconsciously it was made for us. Who's in control? I still want to know who's in control of me. So our bodies emit light. That again proves about us being electromagnetic. We produce our own light energy, very, very faint for us to see, but other beings can't see us, which is another thing because of the vibration, which everything is vibration. Things that are like trees. Let's say trees are living beings just like us, which they are. They can communicate, but they can also, or there's many of trees that can move much faster than we think, because we don't see it, because they're moving slower than us. They're vibrating slower. So that's why they're so dense and heavy, because they're vibrating slower than us. We vibrate a little faster, but we're still within the same visual realm to where you can see our bodies and the trees at the same time, right? Beings that vibrate much faster than us, like the energy of a person who's passed, a ghost, is translucent, or we just don't see it. We might feel it. You might feel a coolness going by you, and you don't know where this came from. It's like on one spot, which I've experienced that myself. So I am speaking from experience. I remember growing up in our house, and we had ghosts. We had a ghost that we knew of. We've since found out that there's a demon there with some lesser demons, and I don't know how many of them got sent back or whatever, if you will. We've had a few people work on it. We do know that the demon is still there. It's a very powerful demon. It's kind of crazy, but I'm going to go and work on the house as well when I'm out there, because I think the physical presence and having some sage and some oils and whatever else I can come up with to try to get this entity, if you will, to kind of go back to the other side would be nice. Feeds on aggression, so it kind of like makes people a little bit more aggressive. And apparently I was kind of immune to it. I saw the fighting going on. I just really wasn't participating in that fighting. I didn't understand the anger. Anger has always been one that I've struggled with anyways, but that's me and my programming, right? As we come here on a birth moment, that birth second, or at least minute, dictates mathematically, because it can be figured out, your characteristics that you've entered this realm with. So we're kind of like, we enter with this pre-program, if you will. And that to me is also evidence, like, astrology charts, gene keys, human design, the I Chi, there's all of these different things. I Chi has been around for centuries, I believe. But there's all of these different modalities out there, these different ways of looking at from the moment we're born that are so crazy accurate. It's not even funny. And from my personal, and I didn't go deep into the gene keys, and I don't know if it was gene keys or human design, but one of them that I had looked at had the characteristic of talking fast and talking loud. And I was blown away, because in my reality, my reason for talking fast and talking loud was the fact that my father was deaf in one ear, and it was always speak up and, say what you gotta say before you were to get smacked across the face and sent to your room because you were lying or whatever else. So it was like you had to get your story out fast, and you had to make sure it was loud enough for him to hear. So I thought it was a trauma response as to why I talk fast and talk loud. So understanding that we choose our families, was it that I chose that characteristic in my father so that I would end up having to talk loud and fast? Was I predetermined that way? Or was it just regardless of who my parents were going to be, I was still going to have that characteristic? So it's kind of like if somebody else born in the same town as me, at the same minute as me, on the same day that I was born, would they also be talking fast and loud? Or would they have a parent or sibling that would, or a teacher even, that would traumatize them to have that characteristic of talking fast and loud? It's kind of strange to think about. But there's all these different things that you can read about yourself going, did they follow me? How do they know this about me? It's really crazy how our personalities can be mathematically figured out. That's, to me, also evidence that we are somewhat AI. As, advanced as we are, highly advanced from anything that we could fathom creating at this point in time. But we are. And let's go a little deeper. What else did I find? So here's a fun one. Upon conception, there's this little burst of light. Just like in the Bible where it says, and God said, let there be light, and there was. That is the moment of creation. For each one of us, we all have that flash of light that says, this is life now. It goes from a cell, an egg cell, and a sperm cell, which are both alive. They're both living cells, of course, but they don't have consciousness. They don't have this awareness of self. They're just, it's an egg, it's a sperm. They come together, and then boom, there's this light stating this is now life. This is now growing. This is now a being. We've got these two parts that came together to create that whole. It's fascinating. But it takes those two with that burst of light, that burst of energy, if you will, electricity, to make this now a living being. Okay? So what else did we find out? Oh, here's another fun one. I just recently saw this. So our bodies have gold inside of it. And I believe it's like 0.2 milligrams of gold that's going through our blood, which if you look at computers, they all need gold to function. Kind of strange that we need this gold that let's see, where does it say? It says, okay, so we've got 0.2 milligrams that circulate in our bloodstream, and it is a conduit for energy or electricity within our bodies. Is that not crazy? that a little bit of gold that's in our bodies help keep the bodies electric, which is why we need to connect to the earth, which is kind of like feeding us through that energy that we get from it. It's fascinating. And again, we don't need to eat nearly as much as we consume because we're getting that energy that we should be getting from the earth and the sun in food form, because we're not spending enough time outside like we used to. The farmers, especially way back in the day when they weren't brainwashed to thinking they need breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think most farmers probably still eat like this. They eat lunch and dinner. One, they only have 2 meals a day. And they have the first meal, that main meal that they're having after they've been out in the fields, after they've collected the eggs, milked the cows, and done whatever, check on the garden and hoed the back 40 or whatever, right? They'll come in and eat their first meal after hours of work, right? Because they're out in the energy. They're collecting this energy outside. They're not like starving. Then they'll come in and eat their dinner. They'll eat this first meal, should I say. They go back out, take care of the last little bit of stuff, make sure everybody's brought back in. The cows that were out, out in the field or whatever, get brought back in. However all that works. I'm not a farmer. But they do their second round of work, and then they come in and eat again. Now, they're exerting more energy than they're receiving from the sun and the earth, which is why we get hungry. But if we're inside all day long, we're not getting the sun and the energy from the earth. And so we're supplementing with food, which is why we're constantly eating. And if we're eating nutritionally deprived foods, these crap processed foods, there's no nutritional value. So we eat, fill up our stomachs, okay? And then a half an hour later, we're hungry again. We're making our body do all of this work on processing that food, trying to find the nutrients, and they're not there. So then it says, hey, I'm hungry still. You didn't give me what I needed. And so we eat again, crap fast food. And the whole thing just keeps going, which we get fatter and fatter because we're just over consuming nutritionally depleted foods. I can't talk sometimes. And so, yeah, it just starts storing. It doesn't know what to do with all of this stuff. It's like, we got to store what we can for when we don't have anything, but you're not giving me what I need. So I'm going to keep on asking for more. It's a vicious cycle to go down. So just paying attention to the foods we eat keeps our machines running very well. You wouldn't put sugar water in your gas tank, right? You put the high grade, anybody will tell you, if you use the higher grade gas, your engine's going to run longer. So it's like, where do you want to put the money? Where do you want to put your money for your food? Do you want to pay the doctor or the farmer? It's that simple. It truly is that simple. What else do I have on here? Here's a little snippet that I had to write down about the gold part. So aligned with our Hermetic wisdom, gold symbolizes the bridge between the material and spiritual realms. Its presence within us and in our bodies reflects our potential to, I scribbled this down and it's kind of dark right now, our potential to realize, to be, okay, so to reach our higher consciousness. I can't figure out what I was trying to write there. Results? Yeah. I am an amazing reader. Just not right now, or usually, but it's okay. So that was some of my thoughts about AI. Other things that come to mind is just the fact that we have, just like a planet, we have all of these different organs and different parts of us with their own awareness. So I was listening to a book about the brain, and he was talking about these ants, the leaf cutter ants and stuff like that, and how to them, each one of them is acting individually. They don't necessarily see themselves as this whole vastness. They don't see that. Just as we're not aware of our wholeness. We're like, how many trillion cells? And each one of those cells have their own individual job, if you will. We have our neurons in our brains, and we've got our spinal cord, which is connecting everything together and sending like the highway or whatever. I mean, it's just the way they talk about the human body as well, with like the bloodstream. We have water streams, we've got our bloodstream, we've got our different organs that have all these different jobs to do. That just like we have an electric factory, and we've got, you know, our water factories and stuff like that in our reality, how we live. Our bodies have similar different factories, if you will. We've got our lungs, which would obviously be what cleans the airs and oxygen. God, I've never been able to say that word. Oxygenates. You know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, puts oxygen in our bodies, right? And then we've got our heart that is basically a vortex. So they just recently understood exactly how the heart works. It's like a vortex. It's fascinating to think about that, because there's also the potential of different realms. And when we sleep, we go somewhere else. There was one thing that I heard recently, that basically we die and then come back to life. We are, obviously we're not dead when we're sleeping, but in a sense, our conscious mind, or probably mostly our unconscious mind, with a little bit of our conscious mind, travels somewhere else. That's fascinating by itself, that it actually can travel to different, different realms. I love my brain. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Dysnomia. Other realities. I'm trying to think of, oh gosh. This is embarrassing. We have other dimensions. Parallel universes. There we go. That's what I was trying to think of, the parallel universes. So we have all of these other places that are also scientifically proven. Science is finally catching up with what a lot of the spiritual teachers have been teaching, which is, you know, kind of a crazy thing. I still don't subscribe to any religion, but that's not because I think that the idea of a creator is wrong. I didn't like the idea of the creator being a man and basically saying women were created to serve men. We are equals, and we are each just as powerful, if not women being more so, because one, we give life, right? You know, a lot of men are jealous of that one. But it's also scientifically proven, again, women have more brain cells than men. Women are able to multitask, where men cannot. Men need, on average, I think it was 3 to 5 seconds to shift from one task to another. Women can multitask. We can do 2 things at once without any problems. And if you got the dyslexic mind in there, kudos to you. We get to add 1 to that. So for the average woman who's dyslexic, we can now have 2 to 3 thoughts, or, you know, doing 2 to 3 different activities, whether I'm like cooking and talking on the phone and taking care of the kids, and, you know, doing 5 other things at once, like, you know, vacuum, doing dishes, and I can just bebop all over the place without having to waste a second shifting gears. The average dyslexic man can have 2 thoughts going at once. He can shift much quicker, 1 to 3 seconds instead of 3 to 5. So it's better. It's an upgrade, should I say, if you have a dyslexic mind. I love my brain. So again, getting back on topic, because this video is probably longer than either one of us expected. But it is important to take care of this body, however you want to see it, whether you see it as you yourself, which we are not our bodies. The body dies, the spirit, the consciousness that's us is energy. It cannot be destroyed. It's like water. You can't destroy it. You can evaporate it. You can cook it down. It turns into steam, whatever. We have the same water now that we had when Earth was first created, if you will. the same amount. We can't make more. When it rains, it's not like, oh, there's more water coming down from the sky. We've got more water now. It's the same water being recycled. It's all good. These bodies, it's just a car. But that being said, you take care of the car. Think of it as a one-of-a-kind, very high-tech, very specialized vehicle that you get to drive. Only you. This is your vehicle. But you got to take care of it. How do you take care of it? By the food you put in, spending plenty of time, at least 20 minutes outside each day and getting some sun, getting your feet on the earth whenever it's warm enough to. When it's not warm enough, there's ways where you can use a grounding wire, which I believe you take a copper pipe, wrap copper wire around it and bring it into the house so that it's in the ground outside. Something like that. There's plenty of resources you can find online for grounding wires when it's cold. Definitely making sure you're getting good quality water. We don't need to drink 8 glasses a day. That's crap that somebody made up. If you're drinking too much water, you're actually depleting your body. You're flushing out the nutrients that our bodies need. So if we're drinking more and more, we're just going to be pissing out all of the nutrients that we're taking in those handfuls of vitamins that we're taking, if you're taking them. So some water, yes, make sure it's good quality. I've got a water distiller. I'm using my stream-fed water here on my property right now. So I got stream-fed, and then I distill it, and then I keep it in my copper container. So that helps it balance out with the minerals and such, and it also keeps it fresh forever. Copper vessels have been used since back in the Egyptian times. Putting it in plastic is horrible. It leaches out all of those particles, which they're already finding plastics in our breast milk. If you can imagine that, giving birth to a baby, they're finding plastics inside the umbilical cord. It is disgusting how much plastics are in us. So looking at it that way, hey, that makes us more AI, right? We've got artificial parts in us now. Plastics floating around and whatever else. They're putting these little nanotechnologies into the vaccines, which just don't get any. If you've got them already, try and do heavy metal flesh or whatever, because they're putting heavy metals into those. They're putting mercury into these vaccines, which I don't know about you, but I learned that when I was in grade school. You don't play with mercury. It gets into your skin, it can kill you. You don't put mercury in your bodies because it can kill you. Be careful. If you drop the old thermometers, if you dropped one of those, you were supposed to call the poison control because it had to be taken care of a certain way. Now all of a sudden, we know that they're putting it into our bodies and people are okay with that. Don't be okay with that. Question everything. If you get a cold, you don't need to go to the doctor. Your body knows what to do. It'll fix itself. Just take care of you. Make sure you're getting, some nutrients. Take some extra vitamin C. Drink juices and stuff like that. Stay warm under the covers. Relax. Take some days off. Energy drinks and coffee. We should not have to supplement our energy when we could get 15, 20 minutes outside in the sun and have the energy we need to work for the day. That should just be mandatory. Every job should say, it's time for your 15 minutes sun. And that should not be part of your lunch break, unless they have a beautiful place for you to be able to have your lunch and they're going to give it to you. But you should have that. That should be instead of allowing you to have the coffee. They supply the coffee. They supply the energy drinks in some businesses I've heard. It's poison. Plus, it's very low on the alkalinity scale. It's very acidic. And so that lowers our overall alkalinity. And that's where disease grow. They thrive in that environment. We need to be, I think it's around 7.2 on the pH scale. That's about the same as water is, which is what we should be at. Having foods like coffee and sodas and sugar processed sugars, and things like that. Those are all very acidic foods and will bring down your pH to where all of these illnesses that we're worried about thrive. From the day we're born, we've got cancer cells, and our bodies know how to deal with it. Take care of this, we take care of that. Our bodies are running good because we're getting what we need. But once we lower our alkalinity to, I think it's 6.5 is where it's like, from that point down, that's bad. That's where all of those bad things can take control. So again, it's just kind of like getting a virus, a computer virus or whatever, right? We were getting these things in there that are throwing a wrench in the workings. We are very advanced AI. But again, what is helping me speak, what's animating this body is the energy, the essence of the being that's driving this body. I am not this body. You are not your body. It's gifted to us to have this amazing experience on this world during this time period. We chose to come here. Why would you not want to take care of it? Why would you not want to make sure that it's going to run very well for you, be able to do the things that you want to do, be able to have the adventures you want to have? Why would you make it to where it couldn't do that? Why would you poison it knowingly? It's your responsibility. This is your body. It's for you to take care of, for you to experience life, not give your life to someone else, not give your life to your boss, to where he owns you or they own you. And all you do is go to work, perform, go home, eat, drink some beers, get high, do whatever, to forget about the day that you just had and then pass out so you can get up again and do it all over again, giving all of your energy to someone else. We need to start standing together. We need to stop supporting these big businesses that don't give a shit about us. We sacrifice our children to them. Not only do we do the wonderful adulting thing of working all day long so somebody else can raise our kids, but then we teach our kids to do the same thing. And we put them in line, shooing them along, telling them, oh, you got to do good in school so you can get a good job. Da, 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 da. That's all life is about, is work, 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 work. Do we ever say, have fun? Do we ever say, do what you enjoy doing? Do we ever say, follow your dreams, whatever they are? Nope. My parents, both my parents, mostly my dad, because my mom left when I was young, that I keep on dwelling on, I suppose. I think it's just me understanding more that I did the best I could as a mom because I didn't really have one to show me what being a mom was about. But both of my parents were really good at stomping on my dreams. Every time I said, I want to do this, they'd say, oh, you can't do that. I want to do that. Nope, you can't do that either. So I believed them. That was my choice. Completely my choice. I allowed them to tell me what I couldn't do. And I couldn't do the one thing that my dad said I should do, which was, I had two choices. Be a teacher or a librarian. Now, apparently he didn't understand that my dyslexic brain with the ADHD and dysnomia and the facial blindness thing and what all the other fun things that I've got going on in my little brain, those were not really options for me. Especially back when I was young and the librarian was the person who, one, could spell perfectly, which I can't even read perfectly. Spelling is even harder than reading for me. So that wasn't going to happen there. And that's back when they had the Dewey Decimal. So everything was on cards. You had to look everything up. They didn't have computers. It was all by hand. No, that wouldn't have worked for me. But those were the options that my dad pushed on me. And I guess in a sense, I ended up being a teacher. I homeschooled my two boys. I had taught classes on different things, taught knitting, I've taught a lot of health things, cooking, of course, 'cause I love to cook. So I have taught some of those things in small groups. But yeah, I think these videos, even though I'm sitting here all by myself, this is about the most teaching, sharing information as I've ever done. And it's largely because I can just say whatever the fuck I want, and I don't hear any feedback of, oh my God, I don't see any visual of, or anything like that, right? So I could just speak my mind. And almost never do I watch my videos before I post them, because if I did, I probably wouldn't share them, because I am very judgmental of myself. And it's really hard for me to watch them after I've shared it and not want to delete them. And I have deleted a few videos. That being said, hopefully you enjoyed this little trip in my head about AI. And yeah, like, subscribe. If you've gotten this far, I'm going to assume you might want to subscribe. I will be doing more videos. I do cooking videos as well. So I've got Cooking with Kalila and Unapologetically Me are my two little channels, if you will. And if you have any thoughts, any topic that you would be interested in me having my view on, my, yeah, unique, I suppose, perspective. My sister would always tell me that I was eclectic when I was a child, and she told me, because I asked her, I didn't understand what that word meant. I said, what does that mean? And she goes, well, you march to your own drum. And I didn't understand why anybody would march to anybody else's drum. It's like, how could I march to somebody else's drum? I could only march to my own. But I understand that it's basically, I'm myself, and most people are trying to be somebody else. Whether it's controlled, or if you want to call them sheeple or whatever, where just being in that, God, I love my dysnomic brain, because I had the word, now I lost it. But basically just thinking for myself versus being programmed. Conformist, that's the word I wanted. I am a nonconformist. I question almost everything, and I always have since I was a child. So that kind of makes me a little bit unique there, I suppose, because I do remember going from elementary school to junior high and seeing how more in elementary school, all the kids were just themselves. But by the time we were in junior high, especially in the higher, well, I think pretty much once you got to junior high, it was all of a sudden people were trying to act like other people and trying to dress like other people. And like, all of a sudden there was this like, you don't fit in because you're not like us. They had more of those cliques. I mean, they had a few of them, I guess, in elementary school, but it was very prominent in junior high, and I didn't go to high school, so I'm sure it got even worse there. But yeah, nonconformist. So from that angle, if you have any thoughts or questions or whatever that you'd like me to address, I would appreciate it, because it helps me to look at things differently. So I encourage comments. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful day.